Today, I'll be taking a look at some of the biggest rivalries in NHL history. These are in no particular order, so let's go. The first rivalry is the Battle of Alberta between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers. This is one of the oldest rivalries in hockey history, as these two cities played against each other for the first time all the way back in 1895. Although the teams obviously weren't the Flames and the Oilers back then, it is what started the rivalry between these two cities. Calgary won that game 2-1, and the Edmonton fans were so mad about the loss, they demanded a rematch, which started the heated rivalry. Over the years, this rivalry had many heated moments, including an iconic goalie fight between Cam Talbot and Mike Smith. Even the mayors of the cities have placed bets before the games, which has resulted in them wearing the opposing team's jersey for the day. Next up, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins rivalry. These two teams first faced off on December 3rd, 1924, and the St. Pats, who were later renamed to the Maple Leafs, defeated the Bruins 5-3. This rivalry has created many heated moments, but not as bad as when it caused a Toronto player to enter a coma in 1933. Ace Bailey was hit from behind by Eddie Shore. He hit his head on the ice and fractured his skull. Luckily, he made a full recovery, but this resulted in a huge fight and really started the rivalry. In the same game, Red Horner knocked Eddie Shore out cold with a single punch as revenge for what he did. Probably the most well-known moment of this rivalry was the 2013 first round, where the Maple Leafs blew a 4-1 lead in the last 10 minutes of the game. This is one of the biggest and well-known comebacks in NHL history, as the Bruins would steal the series from the Leafs in overtime with a final score of 5-4. Next up, we have the Battle of New York between the Rangers and the Islanders. Obviously, they are from the same city, so of course they're going to end up as rivals, but it goes further than just that. In the 1975 season, the Islanders made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, and their opponents were, of course, the Rangers. The Rangers were heavy favorites for the series, but the Islanders managed to make the upset to win the series in overtime. Next up, we have the historical rivalry between the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. These two teams are the two oldest teams in the NHL, and they were both part of the original six. The rivalry between these two historical powerhouses really picked up after the Montreal Wanderers folded, leaving them as the two only Canadian teams until the 1970 season. During the original six era, the Stanley Cup was usually awarded to either the Canadiens or the Maple Leafs, so they were both very good at the same time. These two teams faced off against each other a total of 16 times in the playoffs, with the Canadiens winning 9 series and the Maple Leafs winning 7. A historical moment between these teams was the 1967 Stanley Cup Finals. The Canadiens were heavy favorites going in as the back-to-back champs, but the Leafs managed to complete the upset, winning the series 4-2 and capturing their 13th Stanley Cup, which is the second most just behind the Montreal Canadiens with their 24 wins. And last but not least, we have the legendary rivalry between the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins. These two teams were part of the original six, and the Bruins were actually the first professional American hockey team ever. On April 8th, 1952, Maurice Richard scored one of the most famous goals in NHL history. After leaving the game from an injury, he came back with blood dripping down his face and scored against Bruins goalie Jim Henry to send the Canadiens to the finals. But probably the most well-known moment of the rivalry was the Richard Riot. On March 13th, 1955, one of the most violent hockey moments took place. Bruins defenseman Hal Lacoe high-sticked Richard in the face during a Canadiens power play, which required Richard to get 5 stitches in his face. After the whistle blew to end the play, Richard skated over to Lacoe and hit him in the face with his stick. The linesman tried to hold Richard back, but he kept breaking free and attacking the Bruins defenseman, and Richard eventually broke his stick from hitting him. After the linesman tried to hold Richard back again, Richard broke loose and punched the linesman in the face twice, knocking him unconscious. After the game, Boston police tried to arrest Richard, but Bruins management persuaded the police that the league would take care of the situation, which they did. Richard was given a season suspension, which included the playoffs. This resulted in the Richard Riot, where Canadiens fans rioted about the suspension, saying that it was too long. These teams have played a total of 34 playoff series against each other, with the Canadiens winning 25 and Boston winning 9. And that'll do it for this one. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I will 100% be doing a part 2 soon of this video. This is a very, very fun video to make. Doing all the research was really, really fun. If I missed any big rivalries that you guys would like to see in part 2, Comment down below what rivalries you'd like to see. And yeah, see you in the video, and I'll see you guys next time.